The live stream was cut off again, so I just want to explain to the people that do that what I witnessed in what when you folks finally get sectioned. Okay. I know you don't like some topics because it's scaring you. Okay. They eventually get you guys into the tank, and then it really doesn't seem like a scary process. Okay. I believe me, it definitely is because I heard them talking and I was like crying and stuff. Okay. About the American way and stuff and jurisdictions and topics that you find disturbing. Okay. It's called the designee. Okay, so when Brian Buchanan was in Gavin Foundation and calling me every day, okay, so he's now sober and calm and can have conversations with me. He was asked if he still wanted to have a marital, like a legal marriage, okay, because you can have a designee that still is your designated person for your care without that, and he wanted to be legally married, okay, and then he was asked if he wanted to be legally married and not have sex, okay, and he said he loves me, he wants to be married, all that stuff, right? Okay, so I feel that he is a rapist. Okay. I don't know. I'm not going to say what my therapist thinks, but based on our conversation, okay. There wasn't a need to have sexual intercourse and oral sex with me, given those conversations. Okay. Also, that he knows that I wouldn't submit to that willingly without being married and believing that he wanted to be with me. Okay, so if he's making a bunch of statements, which he should, about he's so disgusted and all this stuff, and I'm an old CUNT, those types of things should have been discussed before the honeymoon. Okay, so in terms of the extent of what a person would go to in order to drink alcohol, use drugs, with marijuana being one of them, manipulate other people to do so, and the violent tendencies and the agreements that the other person is supposed to be your go-to person, and that person handles all your finances. That person sets up your appointments, takes you to your appointments. When you're indicating, okay, through violent acts and words, that the person is then afraid to be around you, okay, you have to be picked up by either the police or an ambulance. Okay. And then remain calm, like I said, because I already was told that he becomes violent with the EMTs when that's happening. So that medication can be given to calm the person down. The person should definitely know. He does initiate sex acts, yes. So it's not sort of like I was raping him. Those types of things wouldn't have happened if it had been determined ahead of time that he becomes disgusted by it or becomes increasingly anxious or has to get away from me or gets violent. Right? Like all of that could have been explained if that's the case about It doesn't matter what the person says and does, right? They're just some sort of a sex offender that can't be with anybody. In terms of not having anything to do with the person, okay, if they call the police, what exactly does that mean? Okay. Um, I'll have you kicked out of here tonight. Okay. To me, there's no possible way that he can live with Denise based on what he told me, unless it's untrue. I believe that his brother has children too, in some semblance of a normal life. And give me all the money in your purse. He literally says in the text messages that I still have, with photographs like a child, okay, that he will come here and get it. He will come here and get money. Right. This stuff doesn't make any sense. Okay, it literally doesn't make any sense. Right? You refuse to meet at any location the next day. Okay. Like he was that might be why he stopped the text communications. Like he was still trying to get back here, like Scott was talking about. They get it in their heads. Whatever just happened, you can just walk back in and not say anything. And Scott did that, and an ambulance came. Okay, that was 2017. So I know, in case Brian and his family was wondering why you don't do that. Okay, that's why you don't do that. Thank God he did not. Right. Um, the police had come, right, because Barbara orchestrated an entire fight between. It ended up being me and Candy. In her defense, that's what Barbara does. She orchestrates fights. So in her defense, Candy and I got in a fight, and then the police came because Barbara said to call the police, like she was going to have Candy kicked out, and Mary ended up out the street. And then Barbara left her house and followed Mary around. Not I was trying to take her with me. She literally followed me around. Scott was there. Scott goes, "Oh, maybe he was trying to get Barbara to go back in the house. Is that what it is?" That yeah. Maybe that's what he was doing. Oh, we can just go back. Blah 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 blah. At least get her into the house, and then I could leave. Yeah, maybe that's. Yeah. So I had to call the police at the gas station. Like all this stuff is like water under the bridge at this point. When you're in a crisis moment, you don't know what the heck's going on, right? So Barbara had me at a hotel. So Brian could be doing this to people, so you got to be careful. You think you're rescuing someone, and it's like not good. You're gonna find out that they degrade mentally, because this is what happened to me. I went out to smoke, and I came back, and she had locked me out of the hotel. And you go, okay, well maybe she was afraid because I was smoking, right? it's two separate beds. I lay down in the bed, and all of a sudden she starts saying weird stuff to me. It's part of dementia, like she's trying to get rid of you, or she has to have a constant person she fights with. Okay, so I'm seeing that with Brian. Okay, like he's making up fights. If he's doing it with other people now, it's like he's having like more of a decline in his mental health. His family would know if he was always like that. Okay. Um, and she, I think, spoke with elderly services on the phone. They will still talk like they know everything they're talking about. And it's like, so, anyways, she scared me. I can't remember. She started talking about Al and stuff and then yelling at me, and I said nothing back to her. And then the next day, elderly services came and they finally could get her into an ambulance. We had been to Sturdy Hospital. Someone was court sectioned her, and then the hospital let us go after the interview. And it might have been because she was with me. I don't know. Tommy came and picked us up. She refused to go back to her house. That's what it was. Um, the public doesn't care, and woman that age that owns a house and has people taking care of her, they're just trying to get her back in her house, which is what ultimately happened. Because she got it in her head that she didn't want to be there because I wasn't there when she's the person who got me kicked out. Okay, so it's almost like Brian. He got me kicked out of the shelter. We could have been asked to leave here because it was too much fighting, right? Raised voices in the hallway and stuff, right? So I don't know if he had that in his head. Then what happens? What happens then? I know, like we both get sectioned to a hospital. If we have a violent thing like that where you're threatening me, why would we both leave? For no reason. So, anyways, she went to Brockton VA and was kept there. And then I left because I didn't think I could go back to the house after that because she caused a big fight with Candy and I. And so I got on a bus and went to Washington, D.C., which is almost like a cooling off period for like a day and a half. And then I took the bus right back to the shelter. So I guess that's what I thought at first, that Brian Buchanan would have a cooling off period and then be able to talk about what to do next, but he cut off all communication with me. And then now that I've had all this time to think about it, I go, this definitely can't be an adult man who has a sound mind who wants to be in a romantic relationship with me, because you go, what facility would a person be in where he isn't allowed to call me? So there's going to be a lot of statements made when a person doesn't know what the hell's going on. It's similar to 2023. Right? Leaving, like, I don't know if that's storytelling or just people being effed up. And I'm not partaking in it. Okay, I'm definitely not partaking in it. Like you can cause a person to go bonkers with worry and stuff, and it's just none of those statements really have any meaning, right? Because you go, I didn't know where the person was or what they were doing. Of course, it's going to be all over the place. Not that makes a person insane. So it kind of goes like this. If all the stuff I thought before isn't true, then I must be mentally insane. Right? I'm not dangerous to others, so, or myself, and I'm obviously trying to take steps to get stabilized housing and stuff. I mean, you can't, other people can't really explain what's going on with me. I'm sorry, but I don't remember any conversations with anybody about because you do this behavior, that has happened. Okay, like there's all these services. I apply for all those services. I've even obtained an attorney for Social Security. So if I'm mentally insane, then I should get Social Security and housing. Okay. I don't do anything weird in housing. I won't even smoke on the property. Okay, so he was doing good in the housing until Tuesday night. It was explained to him that he can't be doing that, and then he said, "I'm gonna get you kicked out of here tonight." What would that do? Like your Barbara Kent, what would that do? Right. So when you're gone like that, you've got to be picked up in an ambulance, just like she was. Picked up in an ambulance, brought to a facility, and asked, "What's going on? Are you a rapist or are you mentally ill?" This early in it, I still think that can be asked. Changes that eventually brought the nation's first African American president, a fact she reflected on the film made by her youngest daughter, Rory. Say that, is there anybody in his life that he trusts there? Barbara used to be like that with me. Is there anybody in your life that you trust would tell you the truth? Her father, a successful businessman, moved the family east to wealthy Greenwich, Connecticut. She was raised Catholic. As a young woman, okay. She had a charmed life, attending the best schools and falling in love with Robert Kennedy. Are you a rapist or are you mentally ill? John rose in political prominence. She was right there with them. A charming socialite. Oh, this is what I was going to say, sorry. If that person said, does it bother you? Would it bother you if someone just told you that you're a rapist? Would that bother you? Like in your life, would you ever think that you'd be a rapist? Is that like something that you would never do? And that's a good one too. Would you ever legally marry a person just to drink or get high or to have money or housing? Would you ever do that? Like, have you ever been married before? If you were with someone for 10 years and you did not legally marry that person, why did you marry a woman that you only knew for a few weeks or a couple of months? I mean, totality, like what was going on there? Was that in order to rape her and use her, or somewhere you thought that that was going to prevent you from being outside like that with the skin and the ears? Kennedy stood by her family. She went on carrying her husband's name and memory as a living legacy. Ratan Tata is best known for putting Indian business on the world stage. The business icon, philanthropist, and former chairman of Tata & Sons globalized India's most influential business group. Born in 1937 in Mumbai, he studied architecture and civil engineering at Cornell University in New York, returning home as a potential successor to the family business. But he got a humble start, shoveling limestone in a steel mill. In the Black dynasty, every different family was of a particular work. It was terrible at that time because I was back home. This is kind of secondary, but explaining my mood on Tuesday. Okay. In terms of conversations and paying attention to me and wanting to have conversations, when Jeopardy is on, and that's a time for me to sit and focus on Jeopardy. Okay. And then I noticed that a person and it's happened more than once, begins to want to have conversations with me. Okay. I said, can you just do this? Because, especially if I hadn't eaten all day, can you not then ask me a lot of questions? Okay, because he also gets angry if you don't respond to him. He thinks you're ignoring him. Okay. When I'm sitting eating a meal, can you not have that be a time where you're talking to me? Also, you know that it's interrupting Jeopardy because I can't hear the questions. Okay. Like, are people supposed to not talk during wrestling? I guess that I thought that I was supposed to close down anything I was doing and focus on the wrestling. That's what I thought. Maybe it doesn't matter if the other person's watching it. But it's another thing that I've noticed about if you're going about dementia. At first, Barbara did this thing where she wanted everybody to just sit around her, and while she was like, she thought she had something to teach us. And then if we didn't pay attention to her, she got mad. Okay. One incident too was there was Cindy and I. Cindy came over and we were having a conversation, and Barbara like literally started yelling at us. Because we were talking to each other, yeah, she was getting like that. They can start getting mad if two people are talking to each other in a room and they're not constantly paying attention to them. What's I'm seeing, Barbara? I see a magician. I see Hugo. Of hair by Hugo. Wizard of whiskers. Sorcerer of scissors. Houdini of hair. Hugo is a small business owner. Me, I'm the Hartford Buck, and I see nothing small about your small business. With insurance designed for your small business, the Buck's got your back. I can make up a story which helps my mood. I'm sorry, but it would be funny, right? If he was a social worker once, and he just has complete dementia. I questioned it, and right when he called Faulkner Hospital and said he was like listing all these medications he was on, I went, what in the hell, God? Like, why would a person of that age have gabapentin and Adderall? Because I think that both of those medications are used for dementia, aren't they? He said he had a little cut here, so he has neuropathy. That would be like a major issue with your healthcare system, because I'm involved with his same providers. If the man was diagnosed with dementia at any point and I was never told that, that wouldn't be my fault or his fault, no. That would be those people's fault. And if he's ever like picked up by the police or an ambulance and they don't call his next of kin, which is his wife, that's a problem too. It doesn't matter how would they have any way of knowing what I'm doing? They don't see me online. I have to call them. As far as they know, they picked this guy up and I don't know where he is. I clearly don't know where he is. So, and I've clearly been calling and texting his phone. That was probably what was happening with Denise in the past, right? I think if the state of Massachusetts allows a man to get married, that some of these people have to realize that there's something wrong with their brain and that they're closing hospitals because of it. That's what I would say. Especially after we went over this last year. Because what was their excuse last year? Did they say that he doesn't have the right to change his emergency contact? Okay, why does he get an answering machine and never talks to her directly when he calls her? Right. I spoke with her. So if that was the case, why wouldn't his emergency contact tell me that? Get it? Because last year there was some excuse about she didn't have a way to contact me. I spoke with her on the phone. Is it possible she could have something wrong with her brain if she responded to him calling her? It could have something to do with me being in court and stuff too. I have no idea because I don't know her that well. He gets an answering machine and then he'll tell me he hasn't heard back from her. And that's why I told my therapist, I go, she was having open heart surgery. She may have died. And nobody told him or me. When clearly I called her phone, she has my phone number, whether his number changed or not. Right, so that something like that could happen too. But I don't know. It's just speculating things where you go. It shouldn't take that long for a hospital to figure it out. I'm sure the cops already know all this. He's in Braintree and Quincy, so the cops already know. Because I say this in terms of like people's psych evals. For me, I'm not a doctor. I'm just putting this out there. If you're the police, okay, and you know that this man is married, why would you think that you're not supposed to contact her? It shows an issue with your brain. Because last year you had an excuse. And it can't be that I have to call you. Who would I call? Am I supposed to start calling every police department in the state? So last night it was explained to you people that you can see me online, not have to call you. And I explained to you why I won't call you, and I explained it to you completely to have an ambulance pick him up. Because you refused to do it at the library and you said it's because his aunt has to do it. That is what you told me. I went right into the Quincy police station and told you about it. I told staff members, several of them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's sad." They just allow people to run around like that need help. For some reason, they decided that Jen wasn't going to be a funny show anymore, and she gets to go to a hospital, and she sits in one of their studio apartments. So that's something to be aware of that's going on. They've got that Linda woman out like that too. Like they think it's funny, clearly, and other people don't. And some of the public probably thinks it's funny, or they don't know what's going on. And then when they ask the cops and stuff, they probably tell them the same thing. You have the right to pick up a person for 3 days, and then you should be calling their next of kin and their emergency contacts, right? Okay. You had an excuse before the wedding. You don't have an excuse now. It was changed at me, and I stood right there when he changed it to me. Right. So again, it doesn't matter what I'm saying online or what he's saying because he's mentally ill. It's not about getting back together with him. I'm explaining that your brains are sick. In my opinion, yes, your brains are sick. You've been doing it since we were dating, the Quincy police. You've been doing it since Brian and I started courting, because he told me about it. That not once but twice in the summer of 2023, you put him in lockup. But yet, for 4 days, was it, he ran around Quincy. And even when I went in there trying to get him help, you told me that his aunt had to do it. Is that true? Or that's not true? Isn't it Massachusetts law that you can pick them up for 3 days? This isn't about the thing in Plymouth. This is about explaining to you his condition. So obviously, somehow the court found out about it and did it when I brought him to court. Like, the mentally ill man himself had to come retrieve me because nobody around him is sane. I'm sure that's a part of the reason for all those text messages. He knows I'm all over the internet doing that. He knows I went to the police, and if he remembers, he told me not to go to the police again, even though I inadvertently did it on Twitter. And I already proved that they can see me and that they actually responded to me, and they're still refusing to do anything. And they're saying I have to call them. I would say it's because they're reading and watching the live streams, and they know that I don't want to call them, and they know why. It's kind of like this. I don't believe this with Brian Buchanan. Okay. You could be putting people in lives in danger. You're harming the mentally ill, and you're also putting people's lives in danger. Because a person like that could flip out after he's let out and go and kill the person. Given his level of agitation, and this is the other thing, Brian Buchanan himself told me that Scott of the Quincy Police went and told him that I went to the police when he was in that state. And that he told Brian that Brian should get a restraining order against me. I'm just telling you what Brian told me. I don't know if it's true or not. Okay, but given some of these people's behavior, it's weird, no? He's at a library screaming at me, okay, and that he has to walk away from me or he's going to punch me in the face. And the cops are telling him I went to the cops. He told me that the cop told him I was crazy. Okay, if that didn't happen, then he's either having a conversation with his head, in his head completely making it up, or he was talking to someone that he thought was him. Because he told me once that, and sometimes Scott dresses in plain clothes and talks to people still out of his uniform. And Brian told me that sometimes he calls himself Kelly and sometimes he calls himself Scott. So it could be possible that Brian's getting mentally confused and he's talking to a person that he thinks is that cop. Someone told him I went right into the police station. That puts my life in danger. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, and you may encounter another fan favorite. A Pokélid with an original Pikachu design featuring a Game Boy is also on display. But visiting this highly anticipated museum is not as easy as it sounds. Visitors have to sign up for a lottery ticket system at least 3 months in advance. just about, I can't even think of a time, but the only people that I would, what do you call it, betraying, whatever it is you guys make up in your heads, is Brian Buchanan. I've mentioned that guy Mike a bunch of times. I don't even know his last name. I walked right up to the man and I said, "You need to stop taking Brian's Adderall, because if you don't, I'm going to report you to the police." And he pretended he didn't know what I was talking about. Okay. I don't know if he has multiple personalities. Brian said he has schizophrenia. Because it could be true. I don't know if that's his diagnosis, but he vacillates into, he's got to take Adderall because he doesn't want to smoke crack cocaine. And he's about God and stuff. And I witnessed him exchanging money for drugs from Brian. That's why. It's because I was told that's his psych meds. Wait, that was before I'm not his doctor. I can't take away his Adderall. I can only report his behavior and what he's telling me. So if that person is psychotic, okay, so this is one of the things too. Although people like to have their own little community, like their street homeless or their group of drug thugs and stuff, don't do that shit with me. Because as you know, it's not that I'm retaliatory. A lot of people pay attention to me. A lot of people pay attention to me because I've been online since 2011. I've had the Secret Service came to my mother's house to talk to me because of what I was tweeting. The FBI came to my mother's house because I wrote a letter to Nancy Pelosi. Okay, so that's what I'm saying to you. I know it doesn't matter what rage you get in, go and do something else. Don't draw attention to yourself by thinking that you're going to attack me for something. Please don't do that for your own selves. They'll allow you to do it, but then they'll have fun effing with you. Right? They'll allow you to do it, but then they'll have fun fucking with you. That, you just trust me. Look at your state down there in Quincy Center, how they don't give you any help. Okay, so he told me that night that he went, I just wanted my phone back, bleep. Afterwards, it was like weird because he had like a quick change personality, and like he can like come out of it for a second and then get angry again. Where he goes, "Oh, and I didn't do this because of Mike. I didn't even know Mike was going to be here." And then the two of them left together. It seems pretty implausible he didn't know Mike was going to be there, but that Mike guy is a public menace, in my opinion. Population, if your cops aren't going to do anything about it. He rides a bike around. He wears a baseball cap sometimes, usually like a crew cut. I think he has like blue eyes. He's somewhat physically fit. He's probably about 30. Okay, he's a public menace because he won't stop traveling from Wollaston into Quincy Center to those fountains and the public library. He doesn't work there. Has no reason to be there, but that he's seeking drugs. That's what he's doing. Those fountains are like a place where regular people go with their children and stuff. Like Brian literally goes to the fountains. He doesn't even have to have a phone because he knows that dude will show up there. I consider it stalking behavior because that's what caused the big blow up before the wedding and destroyed Brian's sobriety. It wasn't me, it was that Mike guy. I was sitting right there when the phone rang. And Brian goes, "It's Mike calling me, but I can't answer him on the phone." He said that's how he might have been lying. He said, "I can't answer him, but I can see that he's calling me." May he have texted him? Maybe. Okay. But he was told by me to stay away from Brian. Donnie was told, that Mike told. Was that about it? Because we discussed it from Gavin, and Brian said that was okay. I'd have a right to do it because he asked me to do it. When you need help from your wife to to tell you to change your clothes and take a shower and to cook your food. Okay, and you clearly told me to help you with your sobriety and to deal with these people that won't stop contacting you no matter how sick you get. Like being lured out to Wollaston and then abandoned there to the point where you're calling me the next day and then you have to call an ambulance on yourself. Away from those people, they're going to have to be charged with something. He went out there to meet Ryan. You can hear it right on the messages. And he told me he was meeting Mike. How did you end up sleeping behind CVS and then having to be hospitalized the next day? What happened to your headphones? He said he was riding Mike's bike and that he fell off of it because it was smashed. He didn't even read the phone message. He didn't even remember calling me. And I believe that he actually didn't remember me because he goes, no, that was Mike. So he clearly didn't remember. That's why I asked questions. And then the response is he seems like he's like altered or has dementia or something. That's why at first you wonder if somebody else is texting on his phone because it's that weird. Um, do you remember saying this? Do you remember saying this? Do you remember writing this? That's why I said just go to a hospital and tell them that your wife told you to pack your backpack and her sister dropped you off at a train and you don't know why. I'm sure it's probably disturbing. Like if a person had like a psychotic break or something and then they give them medication that calms them down and they go, okay, this is why, wait, this is really good that you called us on your own or something. Or okay, so Tuesday night, do you have a recall of the events of what happened? I'm really tired, but I'll try to go through it again. Earlier in the day on Tuesday, Brian asked me to ask my sister to give us a ride to the dispensary because his marijuana was gone. After smoking what's it called? I think she said it was an eighth of an ounce. He would probably know if he still has the bag. Okay. She took a nap and she was on the phone about, I'm sorry, she took a nap and then when she got up, she was talking to her friend about going to the store. That she wanted to go to the Big Y to get water. Okay. So I'm in the kitchen, he's in the chair, and we come out, and I go, I think that she's probably going to be too tired. And he was already on his phone because I was about to go, can we walk to it? We'll just walk to it tomorrow. And he goes, yeah, I was thinking that. Okay, so you're already on a phone and you're thinking that. Okay. And so clearly Mary didn't demand that you do that. Okay. And so we go, yeah, we'll just walk. And everything was, kissy and we'll just walk and whatever. So then I'm preparing food because I haven't eaten all day. So she ends up getting up and she says that she's going to the Big Y. And all of a sudden, Brian asks her if she can drive him to the dispensary. And she doesn't know that we've already had a conversation. And she goes, okay, you know, after she goes to the store, and I can't believe he's asking her this because it's like 9 o'clock, 8:30 at night or something at that point. So she leaves. I don't even say anything about. I say, oh, after she leaves, like not mad. I go, I thought we were walking. No, he turns and goes, I got out of it. So he didn't forget that we agreed to that. He didn't forget that we agreed to that. Okay. He goes, I got out of it. Oh God, I said, God, yeah, I got out of it. And I was just like, it's part of our walking program, but okay, that's not a conversation we had as a married couple. Get it? Okay, some people don't understand how adults act and how married people act. Just in the future, if you're anybody, if you're married, don't do that. Yeah, if you're married, don't do that. You both agreed. It's like a very specific thing that's time sensitive too, where you go, um, okay, so we're going to do this. He didn't even say, do you mind if we don't walk? And then ask her that? Okay, so that's part of like issues that people can have and they don't realize they're doing it. You have to be able to express exactly what just caused you from just generalized anger. And someone is supposedly doing something like it could be true. It could be true that everything a person does just between like you have an issue where you fly into these things or you become paranoid or you're using a lot and you can be like dope sick or like way too high and stuff. There's a difference between that and a growing sort of you just really don't like this person. There's a difference. Some people have a difficulty coming to terms that they need to have psychotherapy. Okay. So to control their temper and stuff, it depends on how much you care about a person, how much you have invested. I think that if 14 times in your life you just stop talking to people because it's a problem, right? If it doesn't matter, you can't force a person to be. They have to go. Yeah, this is a person that I really usually get along with, so something's going to be wrong. So, anyways, I'm trying to eat my food, and he's like, "Oh, I think he might have said Jeopardy or something, or Candy told me." So it's an hour a night where the two shows that he can't like because those are the two shows I like. And then I told you about the talking the entire time while I'm eating and Jeopardy. Um, it was addressed before in a very calm manner. I said, "Can you just do me a favor when I'm eating? Can you not try to have a lot of conversation with me, in particular when he keeps flipping out on me when I don't respond when he's talking?" I think that's reasonable. So, I that's what it was. I had the computer and I closed it. And so I was eating. Then Jeopardy was over and he wanted to watch TV and he put the wrestling on. So that's two things. Get it? Okay. Two things. We already had a conversation wrestling, not I told him he couldn't watch it. Okay. I, as a female, and you just, I'm looking at them and I say something about they don't have good thighs. And I go, they don't have a keyhole and stuff. And I go, um, even Kelly Ripa has better inner thighs than these people do, right? I mean, bodybuilders would laugh at me and think the same thing. I'm sure athletes, bodybuilders, but nope, Brian Buchanan. And then I turned to talk to him, just regular couple stuff, and I swear to God, he looks right at, and he was like in a rage. Are you actually gonna try to talk to me after just cutting down this entire thing? okay, you need to pack up your bag. I think I might have said, you need to pack up your bag. And I go, nope. I'm going to text Candy right now and tell her that you are not going to the dispensary tonight. Okay. He probably wouldn't know, but the people around him would. If that was going to roll into a blow up anyway, and you don't want to be in someone's car when you're doing that. Okay. Or in her apartment, because she doesn't know what the fuck's wrong with you. Okay. And she will fucking beat the fuck out of you, I'm sure, and call the cops. So he was like yelling, "Shut up, you old cunt!" All this stuff. I told you, just you grab the phone, I'll smash your phone. I could kill you. I'm gonna have you kicked out here tonight and give me all the money in your purse. Like, it was just like a whole series of shit. He grabbed the phone, that was it. And it wasn't like he scratched me or anything. And then he put the phone over there, he didn't smash it. And you know what else happened though is Candy pulled up. I could see her truck out there. And oh yeah, and that's when he said, yeah, "I'm gonna go tell her. I'll have you kicked out of here tonight. She knows you're crazy." He might have thought that at the time. That shouldn't seem sane and rational. Yeah, that shouldn't seem sane and rational. He immediately was completely different when she showed up here. That's why she didn't understand what was going on. She might have thought at first I was overreacting. She didn't know what was going on. Just, he does that. So just know that too. You just go, because he calms down after a second. And then he was out in the hallway and she closed the door and she goes, "I just want to make sure that you're sure this is what you want." I go, "No, Candy, he has to go." And it's weird because you're like, why would you then have your sister do that? It's kind of like the stress of the moment, right? So there was instances before that where it was like, I've got to get rid of this fucking person, but I don't think I actually meant it, right? It's like a desperation of trying to get him another therapist, right? Because I already know there's a problem with the pot. Okay. I was doing that. I started calling them. And you know what must have happened is that letter came that was saying we had to leave, because then I was like, okay, how am I going to find him another therapist? We're not even staying here. So it's like upheavals that shouldn't be going on. It's telehealth. Like, you can still set him up. It didn't mean I was staying here. Yeah, it didn't mean I was staying here. It means those are telehealth appointments. Okay, so like I said, people saying that they don't take our insurance when I got you off the well sense. Okay, so you're being nuked, you're being put down, crimes against humanity, treason, and you cannot be forgiven. You're a different species. Okay. You clearly out here, and it doesn't mean the residents were doing it. You clearly out here in Mansfield and Sharon and Foxborough have been purposely denying people medical care and housing and forcing them to these cities to be brutalized in a Holocaust. I already proved it. Okay. So I proved it. It's all been submitted through all these documents and phone calls and live streams and Facebook. Okay. There was like 4 of them that I contacted. They denied me and Brian. Okay. Not available right now. You say that you're accepting new patients, so you're lying. And we walked to one of them, and they said they don't take Mass Health. Okay. It doesn't matter. You're doing things that you're not allowed to do per the U.S. Constitution. Okay. Just like telling me in Quincy you don't take my insurance and it's Mass Health. Okay. So that's treason. You actually cannot do that. You go to a voting box, and when you're told it's universal health care, it's universal health care. When you're told it's Mass Health, and if you don't accept Mass Health, you lose your license to practice. That's what it is. You don't doing weird stuff like you're applying for welfare. Okay. Especially housing, because that's a federal program. You're under the federal government being euthanized for treatment. And then some of you are actually also guilty of crimes against humanity. And in terms of God as I know him, meaning that your brains are already gone thing to be doing that, and I'll explain to you why. You have an absolute hatred for human. You have this thing where you're going to force people into cities, and then there's a war going on, and you call it a war. Okay, so when you have undiagnosed brain disease, it's not good. Explain to you, you need to watch videos of literal primates in jungles that are done by primateologists. Those people have degrees. Not you go that these people are all so sick. Listen to what she's saying. Jane Goodall, is she so sick? Okay. You might want to learn about World War II in Germany and then see what you think, if it makes any sense as to what I just said. It would be all over their newspapers and stuff at the time, because what's all over your newspapers and TV? As the brain dies, the remaining brain matter makes up what's going on within your world system. You don't realize at first that your mental reasoning is gone and your logic. And if you don't know anything about how canines behave in primates, you don't go. Okay, you never do it, so you usually get pretty sick before you. Whereas other people are aware of it and they go, "Oh, I'm doing that thing, talking too loud." This, like, clean up your head. Don't put stuff all over the place. Don't tip over. Don't get too much up on people's food. Okay, all it that's what the Pavlov's dog thing is about. If you watch dogs behavior, okay. Yeah, especially what Brian has done makes it even more confusing, because it shouldn't have been this confusing either way. Like, if you're a person who just keeps saying that he's a drug addict and he's using me, then why would there be so many questions up in the air this long? So you're definitely mentally ill. None of them have. None of them have. My therapist actually seemed to note that she thought that I was doing better when I was with Brian. Okay, so that would be strange. That's why I said that. If all of a sudden, when they talk to Brian, we're in a domestic violence, right? You just go, did you talk to him, the three of you? Is he in a hospital? Why was he only talking to Jane once a month? Why was he allowed to discuss with her how often he saw her? Why was he in control of that? Is he honest when he talks to you about his drug use? Did he tell you he was over medicating? Did he tell you how much pot he was? Okay. But he just walks in there and tells you a bunch of stuff and you accept it. Why? There's something going on with people, just like the shelter, where they like it that people's relationships don't work out. Like that's your motivation. People that I know become very sad about it. Not they make up all this stuff about domestic violence and toxic relationships and stuff. They can tell. I don't know about him. But they can tell that I was happy and then I become very, very sad. Whoops, that was loud. I don't have any soda. There was no way I was walking back to another store yesterday. I had to sleep. It's not about food. I had to sleep. I've been eating every day. I'll have to walk up to the store at some point. I guess I'll go before my phone appointment with my lawyer. Soda and water. Well, sometimes the TV it annoys me because they refuse to talk about reality because they're locked into a delusion, in my opinion. So when they start talking about mental health stuff and they're not like acknowledging a civil war and a Holocaust and U.S. citizens being attacked and what the hell's going on with the red sky and why is everybody joints hurt and why are people dying from pneumonia and shit? You just go, these people are so insane. I swear to God, just July of 2023. Have you seen what? This is a Quincy police officer. Hey, because they wouldn't talk to me, so finally I went up to them. Hey, have you seen Ryan Buchanan? You mean your boyfriend? He didn't say you mean your boyfriend. Your boyfriend? I go, yeah. He goes, no, I haven't. He goes, I haven't seen him in a while. He goes, he's probably in lockup. Did you call Dedham House? No. So I gave him my telephone number. Okay, never heard a thing. They're obsessed with calling. I don't know. It's probably because of their brains dying. Let's hope they die before they go out in the street and go, oh, like literal apes in the jungle. Let's hope that the lung cancer puts them down before then. It ain't about the thing with the guy that you push the button or the exercising. No. So I don't call anyone. I obviously call people, but I don't call the police. Okay. I went right on Twitter last night and it was like a Quincy Emergency Services. And they messaged me twice. And it's not a computer because it's specific to what I'm talking about. Right. And they go, you'd have to call the Quincy. And you can see that they tell you on their Twitter account, they're linked up to the vital services in Quincy. They're linked up to the Quincy police. That's how insane they are. You would have to call the Quincy police. No, I don't. But if they wanted to put your boyfriend in jail, or they wanted to arrest you, or they wanted to pretend that someone reported you on a live stream making statements that you're self harm and come right into a house and knock on your bedroom door, they'll do that. I had it happen to me in High Park. No one else can communicate with me online. You saw me on a live stream or someone else did. And then they asked me if I had a phone and they took my phone number too. Never a word about Brian Buchanan. Probably. It's probably something like he got locked up in Boston too and they didn't tell me. I explained it. Your brains are dying and you're acting like literal apes. It's some sort of ape behavior where you disrupt couples because there's no monogamy in primate kingdoms. You also think I'm either a choice female, I'm a favorite, so I sit down all the time. Not you probably think he's a neutered male because he walks and he's thin. So neutered males aren't allowed to mate with um, favorites. We mate with the dominant gorilla to have the better genetics. That is what you think. Yes, I'm explaining it to you. That is why you don't like the skinny dudes and they walk around because you think they're neutered males. Like you think they're the ones that go out in the trees and stuff and pull each other's penises. That's what you think. Even though you don't know that's what you think, it has to be explained to you based on your behavior. Because it's so insane as Neanderthals and human beings. It is that. It's no different than you've got a pile of stuff all over a floor. You've got to smell everybody's food. You've got to mark stuff. You tip over. It's no different than that. You just want to believe that it is. Okay. This person, hello, hi. I see that you wrote, "Where's your husband?" And then you wrote, "Your voice so deep, damn." Okay. Do you have a dementia diagnosis? Nothing. Okay. Something like that. Okay. They don't like what I'm talking about because it's scaring them. Okay. What? Uh, yeah, like especially at first, you just like Charmaine. You just they say something weird and you go like when you're used to people that I call CUNTs, like the underhanded CUNTs, when you're used to that, you think it's that, but it's actually dementia. Okay, I, I think maybe it's like a reaction to fear. So doing that is supposed to make me meaner and stuff, and so it changes the conversation. Stop talking about that. Okay. It's no different than doing that, but the brain that matter that's remaining thinks it's different. So it, it's good when you sort of work for the government or you're a police officer and you do things that would cause you to be reprimanded or suspended and things. It's important for you to remember your diagnosis or have a person that knows that. Okay. Because you have written laws and procedures, and then you should be able to see that that isn't the protocol. Right. It isn't the protocol that someone, some mysterious someone, saw Mary on a live stream and then reported to the Boston police that she was making statements that she might be self harm or a danger to others. Not you saw it, not you went and looked at it. Okay. And then you show up at a house and just walk right into it and walk up the stairs and knock on the bedroom door that she's in. Like you're cornering her in a room. Okay. You don't ask any words that I don't know what you ask to see if the person's mentally gone. Okay. And then you're asked you if you asked you're asked if you know anything about 6 kidnapped children in Florida, and you have an immediate reaction, and then you turn to leave. Okay, and you go, "This isn't Florida." Okay, like you were confronted with something that again shouldn't make any sense. And then you're asked about a warrant, and as you're fleeing down the stairs away from me, you say that you don't have to have a warrant to just walk into a house like that and go up the stairs. You don't have to have a warrant. Okay. You don't. We don't know what laws have been changed in the state of Massachusetts. We'd have to look it up because the citizens are very frightened of some of these people, and they've been making new laws like the MBTA law that if you attack an MBTA employee, it's like a federal. They have special protection like a cop. People need to know that. And then they'll be on the guard to not be agitated by MBTA workers, like at the train. Like you're playing a put in jail game with people because you're mentally ill. So as soon as I found out about it, I made sure everybody knew. Yeah, you just walk away from them. Okay. Hopefully you don't get trapped on a train with them, and just pray and wait to get the F off of it. Do a mantra or tell yourself, okay, they're doing that thing, so you have to ignore them. Right? You bow. Don't physically bow down to them, but right, that's what they're looking for, and that will make them stop. So, is that a plausible thing that they're legally allowed to do? The governor should know that someone, okay, saw me on a live stream, and their concern is that I'm a danger to myself or others. That's their concern. Okay. They call the police in Boston. Okay. And the police actually respond to it just based on that. And not only do they respond to it, they walk right into the house I'm in, up the stairs, and knock on the door in the room I'm in. I'm thinking they're not supposed to be doing that. Okay. And then, because if you see me on a live stream, where are my children? I don't flip out like I did on the FBI. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to people. I'm way calmer now. If you can see me on a live stream, okay, where are my children? I hope to God that's not happening with Brian. They all got to pretend like they don't see him, like he's on the internet right now. I'm not kidding you. You really don't understand how sick people's minds can get. Haven't seen him. Haven't seen him. Is he a hologram walking around, or it's like social distancing? It doesn't mean he's a human being, but they're supposed to ignore it when they're dying. Remember Jay? Before I went to Washington, he goes, well, see you around, or maybe I won't. Okay, so his brain is sick. Which, when I came back this year, he lost his apartment and everything, and he seems like he's all burnt his head out with crack. It's because his brain is dying. He might be using crack, but his brain is dying. I hope I didn't wake her up. I'll probably have to shut this off. Well, she usually doesn't look at me when she comes out. She's probably like, who the hell is she talking to? Myself. Well, it's an hour, so I can listen to it talking to myself. It's a live stream. It's kind of like talking to yourself, but it's not. And I actually have people in my chat. My sleep stream from way, way long time ago when I used to fall asleep with the thing on. I think maybe that's the tea. I'm going to shut this off.